Chapter 1, The Gathering Storm. Captain Lyra'ak, his chitan-clad form towering over the others, strode purposefully through the corridors of the Kepler-12 space station. The hum of machinery echoed off the metal walls, punctuated by the occasional clatter of footsteps as his entourage followed close behind. As they entered the main conference room, Lyra'ak's mandibles clicked softly with anticipation. The air was thick with tension, a palpable reminder of the stakes at hand. "Status report," Lyra'ak rasped, his voice a low, guttural rumble that reverberated through the room. One of his aides stepped forward, antennae twitching nervously. "Sir, negotiations with the humans are set to begin within the hour. Security protocols are in place, but tensions are running high." Lyra'ak nodded, his compounder scanning the room with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "Very well. Prepare to initiate the first round of talks. We must not keep the humans waiting." With a flick of his antennae, Lyra'ak took his seat at the head of the table, his mandibles clacking softly with anticipation. The fate of the Krell Empire hung in the balance, and he would do whatever it took to ensure its survival. Chapter 2, Diplomatic Maneuvers. As the negotiations got underway, Captain Lyra'ak found himself locked in a delicate dance with the human representatives. Each word was a careful calculation, every gesture a subtle display of dominance. Across the table, Captain Volkov watched with narrowed eyes, his expression unreadable. The air crackled with tension as the two adversaries squared off, each unwilling to back down from their demands. Lyra'ak's mandibles clicked softly as he spoke, his voice a low, rumbling growl. "We are not here to play games, human. We are here to ensure the survival of our species." Volkov's jaw tightened at the implied threat, but he refused to be intimidated. "And so are we," he countered, his voice steady despite the roiling emotions beneath the surface. "But war is not the answer. We must find a way to coexist." The negotiations continued late into the night, the two sides locked in a battle of wills that showed no signs of abating. Chapter 3, Echoes of War. As the hours stretched on, Captain Lyra'ak's sense of unease only grew. Despite his best efforts, it was clear that the humans were not interested in finding a peaceful solution. He paced the length of the conference room, his mandibles clacking softly with frustration. The hum of machinery seemed to mock him, a constant reminder of the gravity of the situation. "We cannot afford to let this escalate any further," Lyra'ak muttered to himself, his antennae twitching with agitation. "We must find a way to break through their defenses and reach a compromise." But as he looked around the room at the weary faces of his comrades, he couldn't shake the feeling that their efforts might be in vain. The humans were a stubborn and unpredictable foe, their motives often shrouded in mystery. Yet despite the odds, Lyra'ak refused to give up hope. The fate of the Krell Empire depended on their ability to find a way forward, and he would not rest until every avenue had been explored. Chapter 4, Veiled Threats. In a private meeting with Captain Volkov, Captain Lyra'ak found himself face to face with the embodiment of human aggression. The air crackled with tension as the two adversaries squared off, each sizing up the other with cold calculation. "You threaten us with war," Volkov said, his voice steady but tinged with steel. "But you forget, we are not afraid to fight. We will not hesitate to defend ourselves if provoked." Lyra'ak's mandibles clicked softly as he considered his response. "And neither are we," he countered, his voice a low, rumbling growl. "But make no mistake, we will not go quietly into the night. We will fight to the last." For a long moment, the two captains stared each other down, locked in a silent battle of wills. The fate of their species hung in the balance, and neither was willing to back down. Chapter 5, Race Against Time. With tensions escalating by the hour, Captain Lyra'ak and his team worked tirelessly to find a solution that would prevent all-out war. Every moment was precious, every decision weighed against the looming specter of destruction. "We need to find a way to de-escalate the situation," Lyra'ak urged, his mandibles clacking softly with urgency. "We cannot afford to let this spiral out of control." His team nodded in grim agreement, their compound eyes reflecting the weight of the task ahead. But despite the odds, they refused to give up hope. "We must exhaust every possible avenue for peace," Lyra'ak continued, his voice a low, rumbling growl. "We owe it to our people, and to the countless lives that hang in the balance." With renewed determination, they set to work, their minds buzzing with possibilities as they raced against the clock to stave off catastrophe. Chapter 6, The Art of Negotiation. As the negotiations dragged on, Captain Lyra'ak found himself locked in a battle of wills with the human representatives. Each word was a weapon, every gesture a strategic move in the deadly game of interstellar diplomacy. "We must find a way to reach a compromise," Lyra'ak urged, his mandibles clicking softly with determination. "We cannot afford to let our differences tear us apart." But the humans remained unmoved, their expressions guarded and distrustful. "We will not be bullied into submission," Volkov declared, his voice steady but tinged with defiance. "We will fight for what we believe in, no matter the cost." For a long moment, there was silence as the two sides stared each other down, locked in a battle of wills that threatened to consume them all. Chapter 7, Fractured Alliances. As tensions reached a boiling point, fractures began to appear within the ranks of the Kepler-12 space station. Old alliances crumbled, replaced by suspicion and distrust as fear spread like wildfire through the corridors. "We cannot let fear dictate our actions," Lyra'ak insisted, his mandibles clacking softly with frustration. "We must stand united in the face of adversity, or risk tearing ourselves apart from within." But his words fell on deaf ears as the once proud defenders of the Krell Empire turned on each other, their minds clouded by paranoia and suspicion. Lyra'ak watched with a heavy heart as the station descended into chaos, knowing that if they could not find a way to come together, all would be lost. Chapter 8, Shadows of Doubt. Amidst the turmoil and uncertainty, doubt began to creep into Captain Lyra'ak's mind. Despite his best efforts, it seemed that their situation was growing increasingly dire with each passing moment. "Perhaps we were foolish to think that peace was possible," he mused, his mandibles clicking softly with resignation. "Perhaps war is the only path forward after all." But even as the doubts gnawed at him, Lyra'ak refused to give up hope. He had seen firsthand the horrors of war, and he would do whatever it took to prevent his people from suffering the same fate. "We cannot lose faith in ourselves," he insisted, his voice firm with resolve. "We must keep fighting, no matter the odds. For if we give up now, all will truly be lost." With renewed determination, Lyra'ak squared his shoulders and set his sights on the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that the fate of the Krell Empire rested on his shoulders alone. Chapter 9, The Point of No Return. As negotiations reached a critical juncture, Captain Lyra'ak realized that they were standing on the precipice of disaster. Every word, every gesture could mean the difference between peace and all-out war. "We must find a way to break through their defenses," Lyra'ak urged, his voice tight with urgency. "We cannot afford to let this opportunity slip through our fingers." But as he looked around the room at the weary faces of his comrades, he couldn't shake the feeling that their efforts might be in vain. The humans were a stubborn and unpredictable foe, their motives often shrouded in mystery. Yet despite the odds, Lyra'ak refused to give up hope. The fate of the Krell Empire depended on their ability to find a way forward, and he would not rest until every avenue had been explored.